Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Emily Dickinson. Frannie doesn't know what to make of the poem she's reading in school. She hasn't thought much about hope. There are so many other things to think about. Each day her friend Samantha seems a bit more holy. There is a new boy in class everyone is calling the Jesus boy. And although the new boy looks like a white kid, he says he's not white. Who is he? During a winter full of surprises, good and bad, Frannie starts seeing a lot of things in a new light. Her brother Sean's deafness, her mother's fear, the class bully's anger, her best friend's faith, and her own desire for the thing with feathers. Here is Feathers by Jacqueline Woodson. And Jacqueline Woodson was the winner in 2018 of the Children's Literature Legacy Award. This award honors an author or illustrator whose books, published in the United States, have made over a period of years a substantial and lasting contribution to children's literature through books that demonstrate integrity and respect for all children's lives and experiences. His coming into our classroom that morning was the only new thing. Everything else was the same way it had always been. The snow coming down, Ms. Johnson looking out the window, then after a moment nodding, the class cheering because she was going to let us go out into the schoolyard at lunchtime. It had been that way for days and days. And then, just before the lunch bell rang, he walked into our classroom, stepped through that door, white and softly as the snow. The class got quiet, and the boy reached into his pocket and pulled something out. "A note for you, Ms. Johnson," the boy said, and the way his voice sounded, all new and soft in the room, made most of the class laugh out loud. But Ms. Johnson gave us a look, and the class got quiet. Now, isn't this the strangest thing, I thought, watching the boy. Just that morning, I'd been thinking about the year I'd missed a whole month of school, showing up in late October after everybody had already buddied up. I'd woken up with that thought and, all morning long, hadn't been able to shake it. The boy was pale, and his hair was long, almost to his back, and curly, like my own brother's hair, but Mama would never let Sean's hair grow that long. I sat at my desk, staring at his hair, wondering what a kid like that was doing in our school, with that long curly hair and white skin and all. And he was skinny, too, tall and skinny, with white hands hanging down below his coat sleeves, skinny white neck showing above his collar, brown corduroy bell-bottoms like the ones I was wearing. Not a pair of gloves in sight, just a beat-up dark green book bag that looked like it had a million things in it, hanging heavy from his shoulder. Ms. Johnson said, "Welcome to our 6th grade classroom," and the boy looked up at her and smiled. Trevor was sitting in the row in front of me, and when the boy smiled, he coughed, but the cough was trying to cover up a word that we weren't allowed to say. Ms. Johnson shot him a look, and Trevor just shrugged and tapped his pencil on his desk like he was tapping out a beat in his head. The boy looked at Trevor, and Trevor coughed the word again, but softer this time. Still, Ms. Johnson heard it. "You have one more chance, Mr. Trevor," Ms. Johnson said, opening her attendance book and writing something in it with her red pen. Trevor glared at the boy, but didn't say the word again. The boy stared back at him, his face pale and calm and quiet. I had never seen such a calm look on a kid. Grown-ups could look that way sometimes, but not the kids I knew. The boy's eyes moved slowly round the classroom, but his head stayed still. It felt like he was seeing all of us, taking us in and figuring us out. When his eyes got to me, I made a face, but he just smiled a tiny, calm smile, and then his eyes moved on. I looked down at my notebook. Beneath my name, I had written the date, Wednesday, January 6, 1971. The day before, Ms. Johnson had read us a poem about hope getting inside you and never stopping. I had written that part of the poem down, "Hope is the thing with feathers," because I had loved the sound of it, loved the way the words seemed to float across my notebook. When I told Mama about the poem, she'd said, "Welcome to the 70s, Frannie. Sounds like Miss Johnson's trying to tell you all something about looking forward instead of back all the time." I just stared at Mama. The poem was about hope, and how hope had these feathers on it. It didn't have a single thing to do with looking forward or back or even sideways. But then Sean came home, and I told him about the poem and the crazy thing Mama had said. Sean smiled and shook his head. "You're a fool," he signed to me. "The word doesn't have feathers. It's a metaphor. Don't you learn anything at Price?" So maybe the 70s is the thing with feathers. Maybe it was about hope and moving forward and not looking behind you. Some days I tried to understand all that grown-up stuff, but a lot of it still didn't make any sense to me. When I looked up from my notebook, Ms. Johnson had assigned the boy a seat close to the front of the room, and when he sat down, I heard him let out a sigh. Something about the way the new boy sat there, with his shoulders all slumped and his head bent down, made me blink hard. The sadness came on fast. I tried to think of something different, the Christmas that had just passed and the presents I'd gotten. Mama's face when Daddy leaned across the couch to hug her tight. My older brother Sean holding up a baseball jersey and signing, "I forgot I told you I wanted this," his face all broken out into a grin, his hands flying through the air. I put the picture of the sign for "forgot" in my head, 4 fingers sliding across the forehead like they're wiping away a thought. Sometimes the signs took me to a different thinking place. The bell rang and Ms. Johnson said, "I'll do a formal introduction after lunch." And this has been a preview of Feathers by Jacqueline Woodson.